Make sure you stay till the very end of this video. Got a really big surprise, a Yara update, if you will, at the end. I think you'll love it. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brian over here at the Little Orchard Farm. Welcome to today's video. Well, today I'm going to take a little bit of a break from chicken cooping and the garden stuff. And, well, I got a couple of boxes in the mail. I wanted to share them with you and show you what I kind of got. So several weeks ago, I went online and I found a company which is called the Indiana. Let's see if I can pull it out here. There we go. Indiana Berry and Plant Company. And so Karen had mentioned it's probably been a year ago, maybe more. And I think we had always talked about wanting to put some grapes on the property. Just some, some table grapes that we could enjoy, pick and eat. And so I went out and I picked up some Concord grapevines. And I got, I think I got 5 of them. Let's see here. Packing slip. I did. I picked up 5 of the Concord grapes, and so today I want to plant these. And I thought I'd just walk through the process of what I'm going to do that. Secondly, last season I planted the orchard. And if you missed that, I got some videos up here where Greg, my brother-in-law, and I went through, dug all the holes, planted all the trees, blah, 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 blah. And it was awesome. About 50 fruit trees in the ground up in our orchard. Everything from apples, peaches, and pears. I think we have some plum trees. We've got figs. I've even got a couple of goji berry bushes. Persimmon. What else do we have up there? Wow. Nectarine. But I had probably, out of that 50 trees or so, I think I had about 4 that died, that didn't make it through the first year. And to be honest with you, I think that there were maybe 1 or 2 of those were really DOA. I don't think they ever took. But I went ahead and planted all of them anyway, fertilized them, did all the things that I thought I needed to do to try to inspire life in them. But about 4 of them didn't make it. And the nursery that I ordered from's policy was that if they don't make it through the first year, to send them some photos and whatnot, and they would give me some credit. So instead of ordering the same trees again, I decided that I want to take my run at another berry plant, one that I have a huge affinity for. Growing up, one of my neighbors had Muscadines. And so I ordered, I'm going to have to sit you down to show you this, but I ordered several Muscadine vines. Let me see if I can sit you down here and show you. All right. Oh yeah, okay. And so while the grapes, I went solely with Concord grapes, seeded Concord grapes. So Black Cowart, Bronze Fry, the Bronze Dixie. What else did I get here? The Black Loomis, Muscadine, several varieties that I think are fairly common, certainly here in the South. In the South, Muscadines grow really, really well. They're a very vibrant plant. And so I think I ended up getting, I want to say 6 of these, 5 or 6. And the main reason I like Muscadines is obviously they're great to pick right off the vine, but I want to make my run at trying my hand at Muscadine wine. See how it turns out, right? Just another one of the little side activities that as a new homesteader, I'd like to pick up and see if I can do. But Muscadines are awesome. They're incredibly vivacious and they taste delicious. I love them. I remember as a kid that I used to sit around on the neighbor's yard and pick so many that it made me sick. You know, you get sick eating too many of them. Mom would call me home for dinner and I would get home and wouldn't hardly eat a bite because I was so full on Muscadines. So today we're gonna look to plant these in the ground. They've actually been sitting here in the barn for a couple of days. And I don't want to let the roots dry out and not be able to get these planted. They're still in a dormant state with the Concord grapes, and I think with the Muscadine as well. There has to be a couple of weeks of 70-degree plus temperature for these to come out of dormancy. So we're still in the 60s, 50s, and 60s, getting down into the upper 30s and 40s at night now, and so there's still some cool weather that I've got some time, but I think I'd like to go ahead and just get these in the ground, get them taken care of. The one thing that I don't have in place will be my trellising system, and so I think I'm going to try to plant these with the understanding I'm going to be coming back and trellising them at a later time. So there may be a little bit of guesswork as to where I position these. So there are a couple of points to make with whether you're working with Muscadines or whether you're working with the grapes. The planting methodology is very similar. Large holes, roots are able to spread out. You have to water them for several hours prior to planting them, which these have not been. So I'm going to get a bucket and we're going to soak the roots for a couple of hours. They all need to be planted and trained so that you can get the best harvest out of all these. And it's always best to run them, obviously, north and south to where you get full sun over the whole plant. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set these up. We're going to lay them out to where we can put a trellising system up that runs north and south. And outside of that, a nice fertilizer, a nice even balanced fertilizer, wood chips around it, but not touching the roots, the foundation or the trunk of the plant. The actual vine itself is always great. You want that moisture to be retained around that root system. You don't want those roots to dry out early in its life in the ground. So those are just a few of the things, and we're going to start by soaking those in a bucket for a couple of hours to get those roots nice and moist. All right, so I put the Muscadines and the grapes into the bucket of water. They've been sitting here for about 3 hours. Didn't put the whole things down there, just the root system. Got that really nice and soft. And I think it's time to go plant them. So we're gonna load up the bucket. We're gonna run up here and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do next. So we're just outside, as you can see, the orchard over here, and this is a piece of nice, fairly flat. It's got a little bit of a fall that then takes off quite nicely down toward the trees down there, where I think we'll get really good drainage. We don't want our grapes to sit in a swampy marshland. We want it to have a real nice drained soil. And so up here on this little plateau or little hillside, if you will, we're gonna plant these from north to south, which means this direction is facing north and south. The sun actually comes up over this hill back here and it sets right over the cabin over there. And so as long as we're going, essentially parallel with the cabin, if you will, we are in a north-south direction. Let me share with you what I think the plan is going to look like. So in each row, I'm going to have a trellis system set up where we've got a post with some wire that runs between two posts, set at 8 feet. Each plant will be planted pretty much right in the middle of that 8-foot span so that it can go either direction, about 4 foot. The ultimate goal is, of course, to train it up to where it goes up multiple levels, up to 6 foot high, and then crawls along each of the guide wires that 4+ feet. I'd like to put all 5 of my Concord grapes in one row. With the Muscadines, I'll end up planting them in 2 rows because I'm going to need some fertilization to go on between the 2, and so I want there to be an area that's more conducive for the wind and whatnot to trade out those spores. That's going to be my goal. I'm going to set 3 rows. I'm going to get the tractor over here that has the tiller on the back of it, and I'm just going to loosen up some of this dirt. We've had some rain over the last couple of weeks, and so the ground is still a little bit soggy, but I think if I work this dirt up real good, it should fluff it and make it easier to dig into. After we kind of loosen it up and whatnot, then I'll come in and I'll actually dig the holes. And from there, my main thing is to get to a depth where I know that my roots are all going to lay in there nice and perfect, and none of them are going to be sticking straight up. I've got my tape measure out, I'm laying out, I've got some stakes over here. I'm going to pull some strings just to make sure I stay nice and in line, so when I do come back to add my trellis posts, it's not going to look all wavy like other projects that I've probably done in the past. All right, so what I've done is I've come in here and I've added a nice layer of compost to each of the little areas that I scratched up with the tractor tiller. And what I'll do is I'll just work these in as I dig my hole, work the soil and the compost in together so I get a good mix to fill the hole back in. So we're going to make our hole really wide. We want a really nice wide base. Give the roots plenty of room to spread out. All right, I think we got enough there. Let's take one of our grapes. And we're going to look. Oh, actually before I put that in there, I'm going to throw a little organic fertilizer in the hole. love my fish emulsion. So just spray a little fish emulsion in there, and we top it off with a little bit more of the fertilizer. That one's done. All right, now we're going to take and go 8 feet to the next one and finish up planting these 5, or excuse me, the other 4. I've begun work on the Muscadines now, doing them the exact same way as I did the Concord grapes. I'm going to dig a nice big hole, place the vine in the hole, put a little fertilizer in there, a little organic fertilizer. I'll then cover up the roots with the growth area about where it was at the nursery, from the roots to the vine, and then cover it all up, pack it down, try to get some of that air out of it, and then apply some additional fertilizer and a little bit of fish emulsion, and that's going to be that. Again, making a nice wide hole. Not a real tiny narrow hole. I'm going to make it nice and wide. I'll take a lot out. Hopefully put a lot back in. There we go. All right. So we want to see. I want to make sure that main taproot is going down, and it is. Now if I place this up against the ground level, where the ground hits right above the root ball there, that's where I want it. And so I believe I've got enough in here to where these roots can get all the way down to the ground, and it's going to be okay. So I'm going to move it over to this side, hold it here in place. Oh, I almost forget every time. I want to put a little bit of the fertilizer in here. Again, this is all organic, so you're not going to burn up the roots. If you put a little too much in there or whatnot, it'll be just fine. All right. So now I've got it just about where I want it. We're going to start backfilling here. Mixed in, which is okay. All right, finish it up, top it off here. And add a little fish juice. Fish emulsion. All right, so in order to keep the area around the root system, not right up against the base, but around the root system a little moist, I'm going to put out some of my pine chips here and just allow it to act kind of as a water retainer. Again, we don't want this to sit into a place where the water doesn't drain well, but we want those roots to remain moist. And so by putting the pine chips around it in a circular motion, we should be able to accomplish that. Again, just encircling the vine, with some of those wood chips, and that'll just keep the ground, the roots, moist over the next several days. So you may be asking yourself, why grapes and muscadines? Well, Karen loves table grapes, and we were thinking that Concord grapes would make an excellent jelly. And so we thought, man, what better type of a jam or a jelly to spread across those homemade buttery biscuits than some good old-fashioned Concord grape jelly. But then the muscadines. Why muscadines? Well, muscadines are a southern tradition. I mean, it's a lot like blackberries. Blackberries grow throughout the southeast in abundance, as does muscadines, and muscadines will grow in the wild. But there are also several cultivars that are high-producing, high-yielding varieties as well. And the one thing that's, a lot of people have heard the phrase a scuppernong. A scuppernong is a type of muscadine. It is a variety of muscadine. It is one of the golden varieties that was discovered, one of the first discoveries of the muscadine in North Carolina along the Scuppernong River. And that's why you hear the golden ones called the Scuppernongs, and the black muscadines are called muscadines. Well, they're both muscadines, and so the only big difference is one of them is the golden variety that was actually discovered back in the, I think I want to say the late 1500s in North Carolina, which, by the way, it is the state's fruit, so you got to give them credit. They've got a sweet one. The muscadine is unbelievably sweet. Love it. Real tough, or a real thick skin, unlike a grape. It's still edible, but it's a little bit tougher, and it's one of those things where some people love it, some people don't. It's got several really great qualities about it. It has a compound in it called resveratrol, which has been linked to assisting in reducing cardiovascular disease and other ailments. It's also got phenols and other antioxidants, which are awesome for your body. And so it's really one of those superfoods. It's one of those acai berry type fruits that man, everybody loves them. Everybody in the South, man, you talk to people who have had muscadines and they're like, love them. What makes the South so awesome for muscadines? Well, muscadines love the warm, humid environment. Something that grapes don't really like a lot of. And so muscadines tend to thrive here in the Southeast United States. You know, they're not necessarily affected by several of the fungal diseases that you'll find that grapes are. Things like the grape downy mildew. It's impervious to that. It is impacted by powdery mildew and bitter rot and even black rot and ripe rot, in fact. Those are all things that can get it, but it's less acceptable to it than grapes. They're a little bit more hardy, right? So you might be asking the question of, what kind of yield can I expect to get from one of these muscadine vines? And it's estimated that you can typically get about 2 bushels per vine per season. And that's not bad. When you figure I've got 8 vines, if I came close to 16 bushels of muscadines, oh my gosh, that's quite a few grapes. But it will produce, and it produces. It ripens into the late summer, and you can enjoy these. And you really kind of just have to treat it as you would any other crop. You've got to tend to it, watch it. One of the things that will help in the health of these vines is actually the pruning. You've got to keep them pruned. You've got to keep these vines trained on their trellises, and that will enhance or increase your yields year over year and increase the health of the plant and keep it healthy year over year as well. Well, all right, well, there you have it. Our Concord grape and our Muscadines Scuppernong vineyards. How cool is that? So glad you guys joined us. We're glad you're along for the journey as we continue to do some brand new things. We're living and learning here on the homestead, and we're so glad you're along for the ride. We hope you have a wonderful week and a very blessed week. Until we see you again the next time, we will. See ya.
She's like, I've had a long day, Daddy. Good girl.